something that we are very proud of having, this kind of ecosystem which has now come up in the country. So these are the things which I wanted to share with you all, that some more statistics I think which should be of interest is that we've issued 1,64,554 startup certificates, and these have created jobs of 18 lakh plus. The average number of employees per startup is somewhere 11, and the number of states who have a startup policy, it started as 4 in 2016, and now we have 31 states and UTs who have a dedicated startup policy. So this is the kind of achievement that we've got. More than that, I think there is something that we need to understand, that while we may have certain schemes which were giving the right nudge to the developing a startup system, whether it was our startup seed fund or it was our fund of funds scheme, the very important thing is that the environment was created where the startups were able to flourish. But I think we need to go further, because everything, it's a matter of relativity. As they say, the relativity principle is very important. So it's very important also to look at what the other countries have done and where are we in this entire sector, in this entire ecosystem. So that is where we are not resting on our laurels. We in the government have been working on further schemes. So we have, which was just announced in this budget for this financial year, we have a fund of fund 2.0, where another 10,000 crores have been given, which will be able to fund startups, through the AIFs and other means, other venture capitalists and all. The initial 10,000 tranche which was given earlier, 5 years back, has completely been utilized, and now we've got another infusion of capital. So these are some of the things which I thought I must share with you all. And as far as I just wanted to take another few seconds to talk about the Startup Mahakumbh, where we are sitting today. It's the second day. And, I'm really loving this kind of vibrancy and the enthusiasm and the number of footfalls which I'm seeing, which is exponentially grown from last year when we had the first edition. So I think that is a very, very happy situation. And I think it is a time for collaboration, for learning, for, showcasing what you have, and also trying to adopt whatever you've learned so that we can, further go on to the next stage.
All right, Manmeet Nanda, ma'am, you've seen this ecosystem very, very closely in your previous roles, and now you're also driving social inclusion in many ways. I'd like to pose twin questions to you. First, your understanding of the ecosystem and the fact that we have so-called 100+ unicorns, but we're now talking about the next wave of innovation, Startup India 2.0 in some ways, and the fact that now we need to ensure that we're seeing innovation across deep tech, across AI, across many other sectors. What do you think the government can do to enable this? And two, we also want this startup magic to spread well beyond the metros and the tier 1 cities. So how do we take it to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and especially to something that is within your mandate, the social inclusion part, and I would say empowerment. If you could shed light on how you're thinking about that.
Thank you, Shweta, and thank you for having me here. Feels great to be part of the community that is so vibrant, so young, energetic, and always throwing great challenges. Yes, that's true. We have come a long way, but there's so much more to do. And transforming India into the 1 trillion economy that we want to be the answer lies in two major ecosystems. That is one, the startups that we all are here sitting and being a part of and being proud of, the unicorns, and of course the MSMEs. They are the backbone of this country. And MSMEs in a very basic way are or have been the true startups of the Indian economy so far. We need to carry what Aarti ma'am mentioned and what Sir mentioned, carry those reforms further. We need to go beyond the metro cities, and we have been, but encouraging tier 2, tier 3 startups more. And inclusion should be a matter of design and not chance like we have on the stage today. Inclusion, as I see, like I'm looking at a different sector now, people with disabilities. There are so many startups that are doing such commendable work to ease and to progress and transform the lives of people with disabilities. I am shocked to see that there are devices available in the market where a completely vision impaired person has a keyboard that can convert what is on text on the screen into braille, helps him read that, not audio, but helps him read that in braille. He can type back on that keyboard onto the desktop and gets on to an English language that most of us understand. So reform journey needs to continue. The government, industry, academia relationship needs to be greatly strengthened. What we have shown in our startups by changing the way we eat, changing the way we buy things or we sell things, it's what India has shown to the world. I mean, we are a great model for everyone, and I think this needs to continue. Further reforms by the government, continuation of the fund of fund schemes, the startup, the seed incubations startup fund, big proponent of that, because our startups need the hand-holding. AI is the future, it's the present, it's the future. Every day I think I will try and figure out greater things that I can learn on Grok. Perplexity, AI throws me another ball. So I need help, sir, on teaching government bureaucrats like us also to pick up our rate of learning for AI and what the startup world can throw on to us. So we're on the right path.
That's an interesting one, Abhishek sir, now, and I think I'd like you to respond to what Manmeet ma'am said.
Yes, see, like I fully agree. Of course, we all agree that AI is the in thing, and we all are using it, playing with it. But AI goes beyond just writing poems or creating content by using or Ghibli images has become popular on Chat GPT.
And controversial.
No, but in fact, OpenAI has been like since last 2-3 days they have been tweeting about the India is the place. But that's because they are seeing it as a market. But we need to go beyond that by just using it for creating funny things or cartoons or poems or jokes. We need to realize that AI can transform things, as Manmeet mentioned. We did this innovation challenge for learning disabilities, and the kind of solutions that we got, which can help detect autism, which can help solve problems for dyslexia, which can solve problems for dyscalculia, are amazing. Helping people, blind people to see, navigate, helping deaf and dumb to hearing impaired people to communicate better. So there are multiple tools. AI is transforming agriculture. AI is transforming healthcare. So what we have seen is that, and what we are hearing and what we expect is that India will come up with a voice-based LLM, which will ensure that with voice you will be able to seek information services. And in India, that will empower the 500 million people who are not connected to the internet there. So the potential of AI is huge, but at the same time, what she mentioned towards the end, that how do we build in capacities within the government and outside? How do we ensure that we are able to use these tools for improving productivity at all levels, and more so in government? So like I got Karamyogi platform has got, in fact, 2 of their team members, I see them in the audience here also today. So it has got a lot of courses on emerging tech, on AI, on Chat GPT, on Gemini, for using AI in healthcare, on various domains. And happy to say that those courses are one of the most consumed courses on the platform. So there is an effort within the government to improve capacities. There is an effort within the industry to use AI to build applications. What we need is to scale up many of these applications. They should not just remain pilots or proof of concepts. How we can take them to logical end and ensure that more and more people benefit from them. That's the challenge that we as civil servants have to work along with startups to make that happen.
All right, I know we just have the last 5 minutes, and I think I want to go back to the topic, which is how can startups power $1 trillion digital economy? And for startups to power the $1 trillion digital economy, we need enabling policies and regulations that would allow that. So let's talk about 2030 and talk about that one policy change. And it doesn't have to be in your ministry, it doesn't have to be something that you are driving, but any one of the three of you can start, and I'd love to get from all three of you that one policy change that you think can fast track this process and take India onto that path of $1 trillion digital economy. Anything that you'd all like to talk about?
Should I go in first? I was taken on a tour to South Korea with my startup team. And what we've not done is we've not capitalized on our high network individuals in our country. There are about maybe 3 lakh plus. They are sitting over assets of 1 million plus. We need to tap those, give them incentives. Also to show them our trust, that we can be trusted as a startup ecosystem, be transparent. I also have read very recently that the startups in the US, they don't rely on the IPO and the basic stock exchanges. So that is where we need to do. And that, I think, Aarti ma'am, if we try and build a venture capital within the government, with our locking our arms and hands with the private sector, and I think given a sweat equity, do some ratings for startups who've performed brilliantly on the stock exchange, increase the trust aspect of it, I think we will be able to bridge that gap of capital, because I think what our startups need is capital. And there are a lot of corporate fundings also that can come in, and I think that is an aspect that we need to look up to. So I think this is one way forward, and I would love the DPIIT to take up this and to create a venture capital fund of their own and to take this forward.
So, well, thanks for those thoughts, Manmeet, but let me tell you one thing, that in our second version of seed fund, very early seed fund, we are looking now to, in this 2.0 version, we are looking at a very different perspective, which you said, in fact, not very different in the sense we are adding a number of things to it. Because we have a very robust digital, system in the country. We have a very excellent one. So we need to build up on that. And for that, you see, ultimately what succeeds is the kind of sales and revenues and what you get it. So if government starts getting into it, I think the kind of nudge that we need to do from the government side is providing the right kind of platform, the right kind of funding. But the people who will be able to do it the best are the ones specialists in their business. So the venture capitalists, whether it's the AIFs, they would be able to appraise these schemes and the ideas which the startups have. I think they would let them do their job. That's what I feel very strongly. But where we need to come in is that, yes, that nudge, that you need to go into sectors, which we were talking earlier also about the social disability and these kind of sectors. We need to push them to go to those kind of ideas, support those ideas. Maybe even what Abhishek was mentioning about the AI part. Let's get that in as well. But let us go to these hinterland, those very backward sectors, areas of our country. Let's get their ideas onboarded. And what I would love to have in this, to change this whole thing, is to make it spread it to all the backward and to all those kind of, let's say slightly those aspirational districts as we have. Let's go there and let's provide them the funding through the, lay down these structures and already that we have. That's how I would look at it.
Thank you. All great ideas, and the last word goes to...
Yeah, if I have to think of one policy push, especially with regard to pushing up us on the value chain of the innovation and deep tech research, I will say augment our research funding many times over. Today we have our research funding is around 0.7% of the GDP compared to 3% or more in China and the US. We need to push that many times over. Of course, the 100,000 crore ANRF